took away. Yes, for this. Get your money's worth. Now, that was
What's up, Grubb?
Grubb. What up, Grubb?
The
legend.
How you doing, brother?
Me, guys. Thanks for joining.
Oh man, you know it's love.
Yo, Grubb, tell us about your new show, brother. Tell us about your new venture. Can you hear me, Grubb?
Yeah. Thank y'all. You know, I'm getting old these days. Hold up, can y'all hear me? I can hear.
Yeah,
we
hear
you.
Delayed. It was like a little lag.
We got a little delay, but we can hear you.
Okay, I started a podcast with a fan arch called. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Called Pelicans Daily. So that's on YouTube every day, Monday through Friday. Go 20, 30 minutes. And I'm still going to be doing some long form interviews. I talked to me and Chris talked today about doing some things this off season. And of course, you know, I got relationships with you guys and I'm sure Lito will be on again. He and I have done a couple of things together in the past. So it's exciting. And the big thing is I got to give a shout out to y'all because today after the press conference, you know, Chris hit me up, Chaz hit me up, Five hit me up, and you know, y'all have always been constant supporters of what I do and how I do what I do, and you know, I think it's certainly difficult trying to hold down the space with this franchise and ask intelligent questions to hold people accountable and to you know to get to the heart of this. This is a basketball thing. You know what I'm saying? That's what this is about. It's about basketball. It's not about our individual feelings. It's not about a lot of other things. It's about getting to the heart of the answers on this is going to be a winning franchise or not. And that's the way I try to keep it. And I appreciate that y'all have always platformed me. You know, though there's nothing for y'all to gain by doing that. Y'all have always, you know, talked me up and pointed people in my direction. So I appreciate that. I appreciate y'all, and I appreciate your fan base.
It ain't. I just like to say it ain't even a talk you up thing. It's like you literally just cold at what you do, and we just want to give you your flowers. And for the fact of the matter is, like, you just fucking keep it real. You go in there, you ask the questions. You know what I'm saying? Like you every time I talk to you, and whether we texting or whether we talking on a podcast or we whatever, you know what I'm saying? Every time I see you, every time I hear you talk, you always you never switch up, and you just do a great job. So like, if we can't give you light, then nobody deserves light.
I appreciate that, man. For us, humbling, and I take that with all the respect that I can give in return.
Brother Grubb, so initially, you know, you had the first question, I believe, at the press conference, and you know, you set it off fire right away. Did you get the answer that you anticipated?
I got the answer that I anticipated because I think the whole point was you weren't going to get details today.
Right.
You know, but what I wanted to establish was the baseline. He had to answer. If the answer is there are no mandates and this is him, these are his decisions. Okay. So we know who to hold accountable then for everything that happens going forward. You said there were no mandates, and Gail Benson said, do whatever you need to do to make this team win. So when you don't do something or when something works, for the praise and the blame, it's at one man's feet because he took that responsibility today. And that's all I wanted was a baseline because I didn't expect a lot of details, not as fast as this process was done. But in that one moment, I wanted to be able to, when we meet with him in a month, the summer league or the first day, you know, media day, when we come back in the fall, everything that happens, Joe Dumars can't say that it's on anybody else but him after what he said today.
That's an excellent.
Hey, Grubb, they saying turn your mic up a little bit.
Let's see. All right, let me see.
So I think we all had kind of, I wouldn't even say mixed reactions. I think we all generally believe that, you know, I feel like a lot of word games were played today. You know, Joe Dumars, he's been doing this a long time. You know, slick.
Chaz, Grubb, I have a question for you. And shout out to everything you do, man. I really appreciate all of your work, and even when you come in the chat and you know, talk back and forth with us, like, I respect the hell out of your basketball IQ and the way you see the game. We see the game the same way, so I appreciate you. I wanted to ask you though. We talked about the mandates and this and that. I know mandates. Why do you think Dumars is sticking with Willie Green?
It's a great question.
That feels like a mandate. Right? Just because you said it's not, we're gonna hold these things accountable. But how could you, if you didn't have the time to allow this man who said today, again, we have to go by what he said. He hasn't even taken a full assessment of the organization, which you couldn't do externally anyway. But typically through the interview process, and this is just what we've all experienced on the jobs that we take in life. If you go to an executive level position, and I'm sure Justin, you saw the same thing when you interviewed as a basketball coach. When you come in, even if you don't know the players on the roster, when you come in, they say, if we ask you to do this in 3 years, if our goal is to win a championship in 3 years, just preemptively, just from the outside, what would you do to get us from A to Z, right? Or if you, from the outside, if you say you've had an overhead view of all 30 organizations, that was, again, something that he said today. I've seen all 30 organizations up front and personal. I've seen behind the curtains. I know the best practices. Well, shouldn't you already know then? And again, this is not an indictment. This is just to say what I'm going to be looking for in the future in your assessments. If you come in and you say you've seen all these things, and shouldn't you also know what the worst practices are? Shouldn't you also be ahead of the curve on what's failing around the league and know where teams are making those mistakes, even though you're not in an official place to do anything about those? If you're coming in from the outside, if you saw the Pelicans year 2, year 3, year 4, all these years that you've been in New York City and you watched them fail, then there should be some understanding of how they got to this failure too. If you've been talking with Gail Benson year after year at the league meetings and building this relationship, then I should have some idea of where the failures are. Yes, I need to get on the ground floor and assess these things and talk to people in the room and get some feedback. And there was something that Chris said earlier that we should talk about. But when you're telling me that you've done these assessments from a distance too, then I think you should come in and know some of these people need to go. That some of these people, it's not going to be some long conversations. And if you're saddling me with the head coach, and let's remember this, Joe Dumars went through 9 head coaches in 14 years.
Flip Saunders, everybody.
Yep. Dang, I did not know that.
1 and a third years. The average coach lasted 1 and a third years with Joe Dumars in Detroit. Bro. So if we're talking about this, we have to use history too to tell us about the future. And the history says that Joe Dumars and coaches don't have a long history together. And if we're talking about, and these are ultimate choices. If you're saying we're staying with Zion, I'm with you on that. If you want to stay with Zion, I'm good. But that means you got to win a championship in 2 years. You got 2-3 years tops to win a championship. If you say we're rebuilding, I'm with you there. Okay, you want to rebuild. Why am I sticking with this coach who went through 4 years for me to start over and rebuild?
Well, Grubb, I got one more thing. One more question for you. Because you just answered that beautifully. So explain to me the process here now where you just hired David Griffin in 2019, right? You had Alvin Gentry. You retained the old head coach when you came in. You then fired him the next year. Fast forward to 2025. Fired David Griffin. You bring in Joe Dumars. You retain Willie Green. And what do you think happens next year? Why waste another year of this when the data is there, whether you like him or not? He can't take this team to another level. Why waste another year? Why is ownership thinking, let's just go through? Are they being cheap? They don't want to pay him out? Like, what do you think?
It's my firm belief that this franchise, quite honestly, the person that I've compared Gail Benson to, and I stand by this, and I don't say this as what she goes on in her personal life. I'm not going to touch that. But what I say is this: the Pelicans are the Clippers. Like, that's where you are. You are the Clippers from 1980 to 2000. Because remember, if you look at the Clippers from 1980 to 2000, horrible winning percentage overall. Got multiple number 1 picks in that time. A lot of top 5, top 7 picks. Ended up in the playoffs every now and then. You know, you had the team with Ron Harper, Mark Jackson, and that group, Olden Polynice, Kenny Norman. They made the playoffs, broke them up. Mike Dunleavy comes along, gets them into the playoffs, break them up. You band them up, finally get the Chris Paul, and then you have to get past the owner to have some success, but still a franchise that's never been past the second round. What are you talking about with the Pelicans? 23 years, 9 playoff appearances, only 2 playoff series wins. you're trying to stay profitable. That's what this is about to me, is that you're trying to, and you know that the best way to be profitable is to be 7 and 8 and 9 and 10, because you're doing it across the street with your Saints. If you're 9 and 8, they're quite happy on their line drive right now, because that's good enough to compete in a bad division. And you're right there for the playoffs every year. And as long as you beat the Falcons twice a year, you can go 9 and 8 and they'll be fine with it, because they get that one playoff check and they're good. And if the Pelicans every year can be 6, 7, 8, maybe in the play-in, you go into the play-in, you get a play-in check, you get a postseason check, and you call it a day. And if you get more than that, then that's gravy. We won already. But it's not really about winning a championship, because organizations that win championships, and I've done this timeline math in your timeline before, they win them fast. Good organizations win fast because they set a standard and they go out and do it.
Grubb, can you answer this question real quick before you get to Chris and Lito? What's Grubb's YouTube? Can you please tell them where to find you?
Pelicans Daily. Just type in Pelicans Daily and it'll pop up.
With David Grubb. Appreciate it. Chris, Lito.
I think Chris had a go ahead, Chris.
What's going on, brother? Grubb, let me ask you something, man. I mean, in regards to Willie Green returning for another year, there are some out here that believe Willie Green is even a good coach in this league. What do you think? What do you think those that think he's a good coach seeing him? What are some of the strengths that maybe you noticed that maybe we're not privy to, or some strengths that you would acknowledge that Willie Green possesses, if any?
And I think his strengths are all intangible, and that's the problem. You know what I mean? Like, his strengths are communication. And I don't know who I told this joke to. I think it was Five. But Five was messaging me today, and I said, Willie Green is like the manager how many of y'all ever waited tables? I waited tables for a while. He's that manager on a Friday night when the kitchen is going down. You know, the wait staff is kind of bugging and people might quit, but you get through the shift. And that's what the first year for Willie was, the 36-46 season. Everything was about to go down. You made the trade, you bring in CJ, you salvage the season, you get into the playoffs, you got to fight, you win enough, you get into the postseason, and you lose in 6, and everybody's happy. You get out of that shift, and everybody's like, man, we made it. I got my tips. Nobody got shot tonight. All right, good night at Waffle House. But you don't make that person the GM. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't run the restaurant every night because they got you through one bad Friday. And all the things that, like, making the schedule, setting up payroll, getting the food orders, all those things in, Willie can't do those things well. You know, the tangibles, whether you talk about after timeouts, whether you talk about strategy going into the fourth quarter, whether you talk winning against the Eastern Conference, that part right there, that to me is a huge indictment, because all the times Pelicans fans have said, well, we should be in the East. If we were in the East, we'd be winning. Well, Willie Green has a losing record against the East in 3 out of 4 seasons. 3 out of 4 seasons, you had a losing record against the East. Okay? And it's not a close losing record. You're winning like 42% of your games against the East. So if you can't compete against the rank and file of the East, then how are you going to compete against the best of the West? And so that's what I think that this team is under Willie Green, is that you get no competitive advantage. When you walk out on the court, you're not saying this is an offensive genius. You're not saying this is a defensive genius. You're not saying this is a strategic genius. He's not an after timeout genius. He's not a road genius. He's not a home genius. Your home record is crappy too. For 4 years, you've been a mediocre home team. So where are you getting an advantage by having Willie Green? And if I don't have any advantage by hiring you, then what are you here for? I could have anyone, literally anyone, sitting in that lead chair and get the same results with a healthy Pelicans team.
That is very depressing. Those were some very depressing stats. Like, nothing against you, because you're not obviously coaching, but just the fact that people still think Willie Green is a good coach. They got 2 questions in the chat, Grubb. I'm just asking to you. Shout out to Mrs. Hunter. She wanted to know, can Joe not help Willie at all? What's up, Justin?
No, because I saw this question too, and
help him do what?
Miss Hunter, you're like, that's
help
not Joe's. What? Yeah, like that's Willie's job. Like, this,
I can't make you a better coach.
Yeah, like, and that's That's the issue.
Help you
right
do
there.
what?
I had
Like
one
help you
question.
do what?
I wanted to ask Grubb because this is something that I was like kind of grappling with, especially watching the press conference. Joe Dumars is 61 or 62 years old, right?
He'll be 62 in like 2 weeks.
All right, so he's 62. That's round up, right?
Or like a month. Yeah, I think it's a month. Yeah.
So, and I've heard you speak about this as well. It's like, well, if you trade Zion, you're looking at a full traditional teardown. Everybody making big money has to go. Joe Dumars being 62 years old, no, he didn't necessarily make any type of promises about being competitive in the short term. And him being that age, I can't imagine that he sees this as a long-term rebuilding project. And nor do I think ownership wants that. So I think worst case scenario, they attempt to thread the needle. And we all know how that always ends up. So do you believe that Joe Dumars, like he would even be open to a long-term potential rebuild, or is this just something that maybe design trade rumors were overstated? Maybe the talk of tearing it down could have been overstated. And if you got Willie Green, you don't want him for short-term success or long-term success. That's why the whole thing just seems so confusing. What's your assessment on the goals with this organization?
Like I think ultimately it doesn't matter how good a person or how talented Joe Dumars is if you have an organizational failure. And I think that's the thing is if you don't have alignment from top to bottom, then this can't work. It doesn't matter who the players are, who the people are. You know, you can change all the participants you want. The game is broken. And it starts with the ownership. What are their goals? And if Gail Benson, even if that's what she said, if she came out and said, I would love to know what it's like to win an NBA championship, that's still not good enough, is it? Because the owners that you want the insane owner. You want the Lakers who come in. You want the type of ownership group that comes in and says the only thing we accept here is championships. It wouldn't be lovely to know what a championship. That's the shit that you and I say.
Right.
I love, as the average person on the street, I would love to know what it's like to be an NBA champion. I would love to hold that trophy up myself. Absolutely. But as an owner, I have a chance to actually make that happen. I have the financial resources, I have the team, I have the position in order to actually do something about that. So it's no longer I would love. It's like we talk about in life. We see here people all the time talk about manifesting. Well, you're not manifesting it if you're saying it'd be great, it'd be cool. Because would you accept that again across the street? If the head coach of the Saints came in and said, I'd love to win a Super Bowl. It would be really nice if we won a Super Bowl. Would Saints fans accept that? So why are you accepting that from the owner, the same person who owns the other team? Why is it like I think it's only reasonable that Joe Dumars came in and did not set a goal, but it's clear that if you came in here, is the goal to get to for fans, and that's all that really matters because they're going to vote more and more with their dollars in a tough economy, right? In a tough economy, people making more hard choices, and I'm not choosing bad entertainment. It's why people ain't going to the movie theaters right now because they're tired of seeing the same thing. You got to give them Sinners if you want them to go to the box office, something special and different. And I'm not getting special and different from the Pelicans. I got a lot of same, which was fine. I would say they made the layup today. That was the basic job of completion is what they did today. But it wasn't a slam dunk. It wasn't something that made you walk away and be like, I got to see Joe Dumars' mixtape after this. You thought Joe Dumars is a solid Division II player. You know what I'm saying? After today, he's a kid who you don't mind having on your roster. But nobody sold you today. Nobody sold anybody.
That dude good. Hey, Grubb, one last question from me. Based on like what you saw today, based on what you saw today, or what you know from Joe Dumars from present and past, does this move empower Bryson? And do you is Joe in the sense how he operates? Would he be a micromanager like Griff?
I don't see him as a micromanager. What I think he is going to put, I get the impression he's going to put people in a position to do their jobs. But is he in position to do his? That's the question. Is he truly empowered to make decisions? to me, if we don't, and I don't think that was answered today, I don't think we got that feeling. I think what everybody's waiting for is a shoe to drop. And certainly by the lottery, a shoe has to drop. Because once you know where your pick is, all right, all bets are off. Are you all in with Zion Williamson or are you out? Are you all in with Willie Green or are you out? If you want to drag this out with Willie, I'm fine. Okay, all right. But when you're ready to cut this cord, let's go ahead and cut it. Let's not have Willie prove that he's not the head coach. Because again, what does that achieve? If you're going to do something eventually, let's do it today. And I think that's the thing, is Joe Dumars in an actual position to make the change. It's fine to be the change candidate. That's fine. But if you walk in and you put the same people in around you in your cabinet as were there before, you're gonna get the same results.
That's good.
Ooh, that's a hell of a question.
Fire question at the bottom. There, Grubb.
Shout out to Trump.
I would say my relationship stays somewhat healthy because I think that they view me as somebody who's critical but fair. That's how I operate. I think that since I came onto the scene, really, and kind of got my first, it wasn't easy at first. I think that they were antagonistic towards me when I first had Hard in the Paint. Going back to WODT, there were times when it was rough between me and the front office because I think that they thought that I wasn't being fair. But I've been consistent, and I think that's the big thing for me. I can't speak on anybody else because I don't think there's no such thing as fair as far as we get treated. Like you get treated as you get treated, and you can't really impact that for other people, unfortunately. But for me, and I know I've had my hard times, and I know that there have been times when they didn't want me around as much. But over the last few years in particular, I think I've earned, particularly amongst the coaches, their respect through my questions, and I think that has helped me. But yeah, I don't think everybody in there loves to see my face. But it was real interesting this year, especially towards the end of the Griffin experience, where he started coming up to me a lot more, shaking my hand, calling me Brother Grubb. I had never heard that before. But Griff was real comfortable talking to me at the end. I don't know if he thought maybe I would say something nice, but I don't change. I mean, I have never changed, and that's what I just try to remain as consistent.
Damn. Grubb, you're
Chaz,
awesome,
what you think about
Brother Grubb?
What you think about Griff? Yeah,
Hey man,
Griff
I don't like all that yo shit. I think Griff had on a wire. You know what I'm saying? Griff.
Yo, my brother.
Word to the mother. Like, nah, Griff, get out of here.
Yeah, I don't think.
But
I don't think
it's
so,
like with Chris. It's like something that Chris said earlier, when Chris was talking about how when Joe calls the players, you're not gonna ask directly then if Willie should get fired.
Right.
that part of it. Right. I agree with that. I don't think you would ask directly. What you try to do if you're a smart manager is you ask some questions that lead people to tell you what you want to tell them. Like, hey, how do you feel the strategy was this year? Do you think you got enough shots? Who didn't get enough shots? Where did we fail as an organization? You're asking roundabout. Everybody knows who you asking about, but you're trying to give everybody plausible deniability. You don't want nobody to feel like they were the rat. So you got to give folks the room to say what they need to say. And I think Joe is going to do that. Again, it depends on, does he have the power to act afterwards? But I think he's playing the long game with some of these players. And some of them, I mean, look, if I'm calling Brandon Boston, the only thing I'm telling him is do your rehab and keep working on your game. You don't have no influence. You know what I mean? That's a very different conversation with CJ McCollum than it is with Brandon Boston.
No, that's the last question I have for you, Grubb. And if you can't answer it, I understand, right? And I keep going back to this because I'm like, look, man, it's a 62-year-old brother. New York is expensive. There's only so many teams in the league. You get to your older years, you just want to relax. Just want to. You want to just be comfortable, right? Ain't too many places more comfortable, the way you can stretch your millions or stretch your dollar if you got millions than New Orleans. Low expectations. You got a relationship with ownership. You supposedly have these mandates in place. Do you think we could be making more of Joe Dumars' ambition? I'm gonna use the word ambition than maybe we should be. Maybe because in my opinion, I think Joe came here to retire. I think Joe came here to do his job, not make any waves. Stay on the porch and eat catfish sandwiches and golf and chill. Like I don't want no trouble. I think that's what Joe came here to do. What's your assessment? Do you think Joe is more ambitious than I'm giving him credit for?
I would say he's more ambitious, but I would say, again, I look to history for examples for things. And again, you don't have to go far to find your example. What is another time in this city where a team went and reached into the past to find a former champion to bring him out of retirement and say, hey, do something wild, do what you want, and see if we can get a winner? Mike Ditka, right? Mike Ditka had been out of coaching for how long before he comes back and stands on? It'd been like a decade he had been out of coaching before he came back and stood on the sidelines in New Orleans. And you're trying to recapture a feeling, right? The Chicago Bears in 1985 were as much a feeling as they were a team. The bad boy Pistons and the Pistons in 2004 is that whole ethos of we built something where nobody thought we could. New Orleans is that kind of image around the country that you ain't supposed to win here. And I think there's an appeal to Joe's ego in that. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying, you've been out of the game. Folks might have said you lost your fastball, and you watching these cats, and you're like, man, I still got enough throws. I can strike out a few more hitters. I can do this one more time. I can I can get my Satchel Paige on, show these young folks that I still got something in the gut. And I think that appealed to him. And to have Gail say, and I'm sure she was very flowery, I think you can do it, Joe. I think you can do it. I think you can come in here and fix this thing. And you sit back and you Joe Dumars and be like, maybe I can fix this. I can do this. I can do this. They got Zion Williamson. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this.
You can win, Jesse.
Jumping in the checkbook. I can do it. I can do it. And you go and talk to your wife, and your wife says, look, if you gonna do it, you better do it now.
Do it
We
now.
ain't doing it when you're 70, Joe.
Do it
We
now.
ain't coming back to this when you're 70. I got places I want to go. Dubai is going. I don't know how long Dubai gonna be here. It might be Dubai. So I want to Dubai. Before it's all Dubai. So those things got to get done today. You want your kids to remember, hey, kids, I can run a team. Y'all old enough to see me run this team. Man. Like those things, I think play into it. Yeah, I'm not saying he can't do it, but I'm saying play into it to somebody's ego goes a long way.
Grubb, I got to ask you another question. Do you think there are going to be any changes in the front office? One more thing.
I think there will be additions. I don't think Swin is going anywhere because I think she's a public relations boost for them. I don't know what she does, and I'm not saying that to insult her, but I don't know what she does. Do y'all know what she does? I don't know. She got a promotion. I still don't know what her job is, but she's been good for them. So, as far as that goes, so why get rid of her? And Bryson has done the heavy lifting when it comes to drafting, and they haven't had failures there. So why get rid of him? The thing is, if you're Joe, you do want people that you trust. And I think he's going to look back. He already lost Scott Perry, who went over to the Kings, but I think he'll look for some other people who he's familiar with and bring them in to bolster his arguments. When you go across and have to go talk to Mickey and Dennis, you need some people who are going to say, Joe's really right. Joe is right. We were Joe on this one. So you need some of those other folks, especially when you start asking for some money or to eat some money.
Lord.
Like those two things, you need some more people in the building. Bryson can't do that for you. You know what I'm saying? He's homegrown. He ain't going to do that. And I don't think that's Swin's role. So, I would say, yeah, there will be more people in the front office. I think the biggest things is you'd like to see, how does he address this coaching staff for Willie? If Willie's going to be around, what does he do with that? Because I don't see some of these guys wanting to stay. And then I would say also, do you have more people to start getting on the business operations for this franchise?
Man,
is it a foregone conclusion that Willie's back, Grubb, or is
I think it's 99.9 right now is what we thought thinking. But I would say this. It was kind of telling that Willie was with his people when it was over. Willie was with the coaches and Jose. CJ left as soon as it was over. CJ didn't hang around, and I'm just saying CJ for him. I think this is like, hey, I'm going into the last year of my deal. Y'all figure this out. I'm fine, whatever, but y'all figure this out. But I understood why Jose was around because, again, Jose, and I don't say this negatively, but Jose is going to be around for everything. If there's something to show up for, Jose will be there. He's going to do that. But I thought it was telling that Willie was around the coaches and was there, and Joe was off introducing himself to other people. I think that Joe is still trying to make sure before you attach your name to anybody, you're not going to go down on somebody else's terms. So if you Joe Dumars, you're going to at least give the appearance that you evaluated Willie on your own.
Man.
What other coaches were there, Grubb?
Well, why you shaking your
I
head?
think Borrego was there.
Grubb talking
The
about
assistants
Jose,
were there,
man?
but I don't think Borrego was there.
What'd you say, Chris? Hey, some people here, no cover charge. They showing up that motherfucker 7 p.m. They in there. Hey, can I carry your CDs? Can I carry your CDs into the building?
If you're Jose, that's how you got here, right? You got here by showing up for everything. You showed up for every practice. You was there for everything. If that's Jose, that's how you got to the NBA, and you got 1 year and a player option left. Hey man, I ain't not showing up.
I say this all the time. I say, look, sometimes you just gotta survive, man. Sometimes you just gotta survive.
When you 5'10" in a big man's league,
yeah, you gotta
show
survive,
up,
man.
You show up.
Yeah. Damn, we got 276 people in here. Make sure you smash the like button. Once again, Grubb, can you tell the fans where they can find you on YouTube? Yeah.
Pelicans Daily. You can also check thebirdrights.com, of course, and I'm on Blue Sky and Instagram and what's the name of that thing? TikTok. Yeah.
I do think it's telling that the two worst ran organizations in the NBA, arguably sports, being the Sacramento Kings and the New Orleans Pelicans, made their decisions the exact same way with the exact same circle of people within the exact same number of hours and days, and that Draymond Green, the ultimate instigator, the ultimate villain, says, "Oh, I love this for both teams because you don't want no competition in the West, Draymond. You know what you're doing, Dre. You know what you're doing, Dre." But it's just interesting, man. It's very interesting.
It's interesting. It's interesting. It's interesting. That's
y'all got anything else?
Man.
Nah, man. Just follow Grubb, man. Make
Shout
sure
to Grubb, man.
Follow Grubb.
Man, I appreciate y'all again, man. Thank y'all so much for having me, and keep doing what y'all do.
No doubt.
Appreciate you, Grubb.